unfortunate, unwarranted, and unwise.
So let's just start with the basic criticism of that, though, from people in their cars who right now may be saying, I saw those pictures. It didn't look good last weekend. Of course we closed the beaches. What do you say to that?
That is a fair thing to say based on the pictures that were in the paper, and I'm not accusing them in any way of being deliberately misleading, but you've got compression shots, you've got telephoto shots that don't reflect the reality. That isn't just me saying that, though. We've had the police chief from Newport Beach, the fire chief from Newport Beach show aerial photos that show a very, very different story. And the city councils in both Laguna Beach and Newport Beach, after those pictures were taken, voted to reopen their beaches. Why? Because they are on the ground. They see the truth and that the telephoto lenses didn't actually represent what was really going on the ground. That's the problem and my criticism with the governor. He's making policy based on a couple of newspaper photos from 800 miles away.
But Don, isn't it okay? But isn't it reasonable to say if we keep the beaches open, you can walk on the beach, you can go for a stroll, but you can't basically camp out?
That's not what the governor is saying. And that may, in fact, be reasonable. Our healthcare professionals, who we've listened to, and we have done nothing without their complete agreement, our healthcare professionals say, it really is good to get out in the sun and to take in the fresh air and maybe lie on the beach and absorb some of the UV rays. That's what the healthcare professionals are telling me. And the problem with what the governor's doing here, in part, is that the public understands that the beaches are a good place, that the California healthy lifestyle is often centered around the sun and the surf. And for the governor to say, no, you can't do that, it undermines the willingness of the public to comply voluntarily. Well, if the governor is going to say this isn't healthy, what in the world else is he wrong about? And I don't want to undermine that voluntary compliance, which is what the governor does.
Was there an attempt, though, to come back and do what Charles just mentioned? Say, hey, we'll meet you in the middle, Governor. Let's just keep it moving on the sand. You can run, you can walk, because that's what Ventura County's doing. It's worked well for them. I just can't help but wondering if, even if it's just in retrospect, that maybe that would have been the move instead of let's go have a day at the beach.
Well, I do believe that if the governor had called us, we'd have answered the phone and we'd have had a conversation. But we found out Wednesday night that all of the police chiefs around the state, or at least those that have beach communities, were told, prepare for a shutdown of the beaches statewide. 15 minutes before he went on with his press conference yesterday, we heard, oops, just kidding, it's only Newport Beach. And I was on a phone conference with the governor's office. The governor did not get on that call, and they said it's Orange County alone. And they didn't say in that conversation, what do you think? They said, here's what you're going to do. So I'll agree with you. I would love to have that conversation with the governor and explain why locally we believe this is the right thing according to our mental health and physical health professionals. That conversation hasn't happened.
But Don, in many countries where there had been a really big dip in the number of cases, when they did start to loosen up some things, those cases started to go back up again. So what do you do if a bunch of people start hanging out on the beach this weekend and maybe next weekend as well, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, because it can take that long, as you know, right, in terms of an incubation period, the numbers of infections start shooting up, then what?
The answer I would say to that, and that is an extraordinarily fair point, and nobody is disputing it. First, I am hearing from my medical health professionals at UC Irvine, at the Children's Hospital of Orange County, there is a definite concern about a resurgence. And so what we've done is make sure we're prepared as best we can for any such resurgence. We're continuing to stock up on masks and PPEs, et cetera. But that potential for a resurgence is not lost on our healthcare professionals, who said, nevertheless, the benefits of getting outdoors under these circumstances, and given where Orange County is in fighting this disease, these are important benefits to take right now. And what I'll also add to you is, again, if you look at those aerial photos and if you talk to some of our local law enforcement people, they're saying overwhelmingly there was compliance. Is it 100%? No. But is it overwhelming compliance? Yes. So it's very unfair for the governor to do the kind of the two things he's done. One is base policy on photographs that aren't entirely representative. And second of all, in his conference, he threw out there, well, Orange County's got the fourth highest hospitalization rate. That's true. But we have the third highest population. So if you look at our population to our hospitalization, we're not saying we're out of the woods by any means.
Yeah.
We are saying we are in better shape, and that's reflected in our numbers and in our healthcare professionals' decisions.
Don, we're almost out of time, but quickly, do you think people are still going to go anyways this week? Because I think the sheriff, I don't want to misquote him, but he doesn't see his deputies citing people out there.
I think that is a accurate reflection of the attitude of the sheriff, and I do believe we will see people at the beach. I am not encouraging anyone to violate the stay-at-home order. I truly am not, but I get back to my worry about compliance and the governor undermining the compliance rate here in Orange County.
Quick question. Would you, with your family, go to the beach? Would you encourage your family to go? Just curious.
I absolutely would go, except for the governor's order. I'm going to obey the governor's order, but I would have no problem.
Don Wagner,
right.
Orange County Supervisor there, 3rd District. Thanks.
That's why he's a politician.
More
Okay.
of KNX in depth. Minutes away.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now. Like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR? No closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
Geico presents, not again, another voicemail from your roommate.
Hey, man, so I was in a rush to get to work and I left the back door open. Could you shut it? I left it wide open. While you're there, could you also turn off the oven? And all of the burners. My mom never let me use the oven. I wonder why.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if it's your roommate's first time operating an oven. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now. Like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR? No closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station. KNX, KRTH FM HD2 Los Angeles. KNX 1070 News Radio. A radio.com station. Depend on us.
2 o'clock here at KNX 1070. Some local stories we're following before we get back to In Depth. Hundreds of people rallied in and around LA City Hall this afternoon on foot, driving their cars covered with flags and banners. Their message, reopen California.
The signs were mostly in red, white, and blue. The message, shut down is tyranny. We need jobs. Reopen California. Steve Davis was carrying a Trump banner and an American flag, along with a sign that read, "Back to Work." I asked him if he was upset with local officials or the governor.
A bit of both, to be honest. I understand they're trying to, a little CYA, cover your you-know-what. But at the end of the day, we need to get back to the data is out. The data is out, and we understand what's going on now. We all do, collectively as a people. So let us get back to work. Let us do what we got to do.
L.A. police were in a skirmish line down Spring Street to keep the ralliers separated from socialist movement protesters, but there were no incidents of note on either side. At L.A. City Hall, Pete Demetrio, KNX 1070 News Radio.
PCH is jammed in Huntington Beach because of the protests there. You heard earlier our John Baird at that one. Hundreds of people. Pictures on our Twitter feed at KNX 1070. California has reached a couple bleak milestones. 91 new deaths. More than 2,000 Californians have died from the coronavirus now. The state has more than 50,000 confirmed cases. As you heard live here during his briefing, Governor Newsom said the battle is not over.
Don't think this virus has disappeared. Just ask the family members of those that have tragically lost loved ones.
In an apparent attempt to ease the growing anxiety across the state, the governor says the state may be not weeks, but days away from scaling back some of the statewide health orders.
Frustration and concern and deeply understandable anxiety about the economy and the fate and future of their families and this state and our nation and the world. Collectively, we're trying to build. And so I just want folks to know we're getting very close to making really meaningful augmentations to that stay-at-home order.
In response to the suit being brought by Huntington Beach, the governor said he's not surprised, adding, "We will see what happens." The protests in Huntington Beach and L.A. drawing an angry rebuke from L.A. County Supervisor Catherine Barger.
When I saw, before I came down here, the crowds that are not wearing masks, that are literally on top of each other protesting, it doesn't further their cause, and it actually, to me, makes the argument that the governor was making, and that is that when you don't social distance and you don't practice safe social distancing, you are contributing to the spread of this virus, and it's going to take us a lot longer.
1,172 people killed by the virus in L.A. County compared to 79 deaths a month ago, April 1st. More than 24,000 people have tested positive. 2:03 here at KNX. And now we're back to KNX In Depth, along with Charles Feldman. I'm Mike Simpson.
Did Joe Biden do enough today to silence his critics over sexual assault allegations? And what about the charges of a double standard in the Democratic Party? We'll cover some non-coronavirus news. I didn't know there was any.
Remember
but I guess,
that.
Yeah, well, at the back of the program.
Right now, though, with so many states and cities wanting to reopen their businesses and some of them doing so, public health officials going to be on edge, keeping a very close eye on some key data going forward. So what are they going to be looking for signs that a second wave might be upon us? Dr. Yannis Benamor is a microbiologist, executive director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. So, Doctor, that question to you, when things do start to open back up slowly, what do you watch for?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your show. I would like to say that in a perfect world, we would have sentinel systems in place across the states in the United States, and unfortunately, we still don't have those. What I mean by that is a system where every single case of coronavirus is actively looked for, and all of his or her contacts are also looked for. Then I would feel comfortable reopening the economy, and I would be comfortable thinking that there are systems in place that would let me know if there is a second wave of infection. And unfortunately, right now, that's just not the case. It's not the case anywhere, including in New York. In New York, we just started hiring these people called contact tracer, which would go house to house and find these extra cases that are not reporting to the hospitals by themselves. But this is not the case in most of the states. And so you really don't have any idea what your problem is. And unless there is another flare-up, meaning multiple cases at once, you could have silent transmission going on in the community. And this is really what the public health experts are worried about.
So how is it that some other countries, Germany, for example, apparently is doing a really good job at contact tracing. Some Southeast Asian countries are doing the same thing. Sweden is doing that. Why are we failing so badly?
Okay, so Sweden is actually not a good example, but Germany is, and Taiwan and South Korea. So a lot of the Asian countries were just a lot better prepared. In 2002 and 2003, when there was a SARS outbreak, they got really badly hit. And so they were constantly waiting for that next epidemic outbreak. And so as soon as the epidemic started in Wuhan, they started taking aggressive measures, developing diagnostic tests, starting testing everyone, even those who did not look symptomatic, to try to find those cases, put them in quarantine, and making sure that the infection wasn't spreading. As a result, as you justly pointed out, Taiwan never closed down. South Korea never closed down. And Germany, same thing. They did close down, but they did aggressively test in the very beginning. And so actually the effect or the impact of COVID in Germany was a lot less. And now they're slowly reopening the economy already.
I'm sure you're familiar.
One of the
go
key figures, if I may, is that we keep on saying in the United States that we are testing enough. So it is true that if you look from March 1st to today, the number of tests in the United States have significantly increased. But the metric that people should be thinking about is the following. The number of tests that a country does in order to find a positive. Right now, in the United States, we are testing 1 out of 6. So in order to find one positive, we test 6 people. In South Korea, that number is 1 to 60, and in Taiwan, that number is 1 to 140. So that gives you an idea of the magnitude that we need to get to before we can comfortably say that we have an idea of what's going on in our communities and we can go out safely and not worry that somebody may be spreading the infection.
Yeah, it's a big gap. I just wanted to bring up the headline of the study today that said, hey, maybe this is going to be with us for as many as 2 years. And some of that is based on what we've heard before. Others is projections off of the Spanish flu from 1918. There's a few scenarios in there. Can you walk us through some of them? One is a second wave around by years and a big one. Another is kind of a series of smaller waves that we just kind of have to see where they pop up. And then the third is a real slow burn just all the way up.
Okay, so let me start with the second one. So that would be the case if this coronavirus, unlike all the other coronaviruses we had before, is kind of a seasonal coronavirus. So that was not the case with SARS in 2003. That was also not the case with MERS in 2012. These diseases were controlled and sort of disappeared. We don't know at this point whether this coronavirus is going to be seasonal. There's just not enough data. We do hope, but there are indications coming out of Australia and Singapore where the spread was happening during their summer. Particularly, it was hot and humid, and it was still taking place. So what experts like Tony Fauci, for instance, worry about is that there is going to be a second wave when colder weather comes back in September, October. And then we could risk a double whammy in case the coronavirus comes back along the seasonal flu. So that's the second scenario. The first scenario is basically second waves in the case of states like Georgia and Texas opening too soon when they're not ready. And then their first wave, which doesn't really disappear, then becomes a second wave and could be actually more important than the first one. So these are sort of the case scenarios that we're looking at.
By the way, you mentioned that Sweden wasn't a good example. Is that because they haven't done any substantial lockdown at all?
That's right. So they decided that they were going to go with the herd immunity strategy, which is what originally the UK wanted to do, and then it ended up being a disaster. So we are going to figure out why this hasn't hit Sweden as badly as it hit the UK. But yes, so there was social distancing in Sweden, but they did not lock down the economy. Bars, restaurants were open as before.
Dr. Yannis Benamor, microbiologist, executive director at the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. Doctor, thank you.
When we continue, a very commonly used and widely available asthma drug may be showing some potential as a coronavirus treatment.
Missed any of the show? You can get it later on, the KNX In-Depth podcast. It's on the radio.com app. And
yes.
We also do another one as well.
Yes, it's called Coronavirus Daily, World on Pause, and Mike and I do that, and you can get that wherever you happen to get your podcast from.
Back in minutes.
The backyard is back. A place to get a breath of fresh air and get together with the family. The Home Depot is here to help you create the backyard you've always wanted. With premium, low-maintenance composite decking and fencing from brands like Trex, Fiberon, TimberTech, and Veranda. And hundreds of other options to bring your backyard back to life this year. Order online and we're on it. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only. Restrictions apply.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976.
Right now, health and medical industries are on that kind of mission. And it really feels like my colleagues and I are embarking on this new journey as we stand on the front lines of the COVID crisis. We keep saying to each other, we've never done this before. We've never seen anything like this on this scale before. And so I wanted to capture some of this journey. So I'm starting my own captain's log. I'll be documenting my personal experiences and thoughts as this pandemic unfolds around us. I'm Esther Chu, MD, and this is my doctor's log. Go subscribe on radio.com and wherever you get your podcasts.
Geico has the insurance industry-leading app that lets you manage your policy anytime, anywhere. Which means that Geico is always there for you, if only everyone was always there for you. Like animal control, when you're cornered in your garage by an angry possum.
Hi, me again. You guys said you would be here about an hour ago, and I think the possum is starting to get angry. Listen, I thought if I fed it, it would go away, but now it is ripping holes in the drywall and making some sort of nest. Just call me back.
Geico, always there for you with savings and the industry-leading mobile app.
Boy, things have gotten really weird.
Yeah, it almost seems like every day you don't know what to expect. So we are going to try and help get you through it.
I'm Charles Feldman.
And I'm Mike Simpson, and we're the hosts of the new podcast, Coronavirus Daily. We bring in some of the top experts all around the world to ask the questions that you have.
Because we are all in this together, and you know what? We are all going to survive this together.
Again, Coronavirus Daily on the radio.com app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
So you just tuned in. Did you miss something? Came in the middle of a sentence? Or a show? That's unfortunate. That's why there's radio.com Rewind. Talk about convenient. You can rewind this station up to 24 hours back. No matter what you missed, it's still there. Just go to the bottom of your screen and click the rewind button. Then pick the hour you want and you're instantly there. Listen to what you want when you want with radio.com Rewind. Radio.com Rewind.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
We know staying in is a little easier when you can grill out. That's why Ace will help you get a great grill for your family from the best brands like Big Green Egg, Traeger, and Weber. And with your local Ace right in your neighborhood, we'll assemble and deliver your grill for free. Then, to make it even easier, we'll include free fuel to help you get grilling. The brands you love and the service you trust, only at Ace. Offer valid for Ace Rewards members through May 31st on grills and accessories $3.99 and up. Propane tank not included. See participating stores for scheduling or exclusions.
We'll get you traffic now and then get back to In Depth. Here's Tom Tran.
All right, we had a pretty nasty crash on the eastbound side of the 105, Eastbound 105 near Long Beach Boulevard. Starting to clear, but the slowing starts way back at the 110. Check in with Brian Douglas, who's taking a look at the drive in Huntington Beach.
PCH absolutely jammed. If you heard here on In Depth, or John Berdazera, big protests happening right downtown, right by the pier. So PCH basically south of Golden West, jammed north of Newland. You want to avoid this stretch of road. I know a lot of you are thinking about going out for a drive. Don't do it here. If you need an alternate, take Golden West north to Yorktown. Take that east to Newland Street, south back to PCH. Tom?
Northbound side of the 110, busy trying to get through South LA. The slowing starts back at Century up towards Slauson Avenue. We've got problems in East LA. The 710 northbound's backed up from Atlantic Bandini to the 5, and the 5 is slow from the 710 into the East LA interchange. Your next report to 25. More traffic reports more often. I'm Tom Tran, KNX 1070 News Radio.
You're listening to KNX In Depth along with Mike Simpson. I'm Charles Feldman.
In the race to find effective treatments for COVID-19, it's pretty much an all-hands-on-deck situation. The efforts to treat patients, doctors trying all kinds of different medications. In the case of remdesivir, a drug originally designed for Ebola, it's proven so promising, the FDA just gave emergency authority to use it.
So could a surprising coronavirus treatment possibly come from a very widely available asthma drug that's been used for quite some time now? With us is Dr. Thomas Braziale, who is the Director Emeritus of the Carter Immunology Center at the University of Virginia. Thank you for joining us, Doctor. The medication we're talking about, the brand name is Singulair. I know it has a generic name as well. It's not unusual in medicine for medications designed for one thing to be repurposed for something else. Might this be one of them?
Well, let me start by giving you some background or context of how I got into this. Several years ago, my laboratory published a report showing that we could prevent the development of influenza pneumonia in mice by treating the mice with Singulair, Montelukast. Okay, and we've gone on over the next several years to try to determine whether this would hold in the human. Well, with the outbreak of COVID-19 infection this past January, we started to get emails from individuals basically around the world who were taking Singulair for asthma, asking us whether it might work to treat COVID-19 infection. Of course, I had to emphasize to them that our work was done in influenza, in mice, and that influenza and the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus are very, very different organisms. And that's really where it stood for us until I started getting emails from physicians who were saying that they were treating patients with Singulair, their COVID-19 patients with Singulair, and getting positive results.
And is this giving it to them when they come in, or is this positive results for people who are already on it?
This is positive results of people who were in and hospitalized, that they were saying that they could improve their survival and their status.
And
of course, the problem. Let me get to one thing, if I could. Then I will stop. Of course, these reports, unfortunately, are anecdotal, and it was quite possible that these patients could have gotten better anyway, but we just don't know. And that's the reason why I'm going to emphasize that we need a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial to test the effectiveness of Singulair in treating COVID-19 infection.
Does the mechanism where it might work, Singulair, make sense to you?
In principle, it does. But remember, this is a new virus, a new organism with a new, what we call pathogenesis. And we're not sure truly how it produces disease. But it would be attractive to think that for some reason, the kind of inflammation that this coronavirus produces in the lungs, at least, could be ameliorated, lessened by giving Singulair. Also, it's theoretically possible that the drug may actually act to suppress infection of lung cells, particularly lung cells that are involved in oxygen exchange that would be damaged during COVID-19 infection to produce pneumonia. So those are two possibilities. But again, this is speculation, and we don't have hard data on this. What we'd like to do is to couple the research, the basic research, to find out the mechanism of action of this class of drugs while we're seeing whether the drugs are actually effective in treating coronavirus.
Well, here's hoping. Dr. Thomas Bracciale, Director Emeritus, Carter Immunology Center, University of Virginia. Doctor, thank you.
Coming up next, did Joe Biden do enough today to silence his critics when he addressed allegations of sexual assault? We'll find out.
Back in 1 minute.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. You'll proudly mow the lawn. Ask if anybody noticed you mowed the lawn. Tell people to stay off the lawn. Compare it to your neighbor's lawn. And complain about having to mow the lawn again. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance, which, of course, will go right into the lawn. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now. Like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR? No closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
We're back on KNX In Depth. Mike Simpson and Charles Feldman.
Joe Biden, after many weeks of silence on the issue, finally addressed the allegations of sexual assault leveled against him by his former staffer, Tara Reid.
I'm not suggesting she had no right to come forward. And I'm not saying any woman, they should come forward. They should be heard. And then it should be investigated. These claims are not true. There's no they're not true.
Mr. Vice President.
I don't know what else I can say to you.
Lynn Sweets, the political columnist and the Washington bureau chief for the Chicago Sun-Times. Lynn, like we mentioned, this was a long time coming, the direct interview about this and making comments on it. Do you think you satisfied people?
Well, it won't satisfy the Trump campaign, but the Biden campaign made what for them was not an easy decision to confront the growing drumbeat, even from liberal and Democratic corners and precincts, to address this. And that's why he did. So if the answer is bifurcated, will this make a difference to Trump campaign? No. Will it make a difference and maybe let Biden minimize the damage from this, political damage? Probably a bit for now, because for people, and most important, I think it gives cover to people who want to be his supporters who may have thought it's a little problem for me because he hasn't spoken out. So now I could be more public in my support of the president. That might be a thought, too.
Now, as you know, Lynn, there are critics of Mr. Biden and critics, in fact, of the Democrats who have been making the argument that the Democrats have been too soft on Joe Biden on this, that the media, that we're all being, when I say we, all of us in media, have been too soft on him. Is there merit to that argument?
I want to... There's different media, and people have different missions, and this is a busy time, and there is a lot going on. So I think the New York Times and the Washington Post, which has enormous resources, has done an enormous job of researching this. And just like you probably, we all have our missions and jobs to do in this pandemic. So in another time, maybe more people would have looked at it. But what I don't get, the one thing I don't get is when Biden has done interviews on TV, live interviews, why he hasn't been asked about it. That is something that is not a time-consuming investigation. And in that way, I do fault the interviewers for not, among them all, asking a question to address this or asking about if there's records or how they're going to deal with this, because it's a political problem. See, as our listeners probably know, even if a problem exists, if it is on the table for your opponent to use, if it's not true and you deny it and can move past it, which is what Trump is trying to do, that's the work of a campaign.
He did make one move. You mentioned the idea of records. He did ask the National Archives, say, hey, and he said pretty definitively, open them up. If there is something in there, which there isn't, it would be in there.
And that's the kind of answer, if somebody had asked him in an interview, what are you doing? Are there records? Maybe they would have gotten that answer on it. So that's where I think the people who did the live interviews with him probably should have figured out some approach to the questions, a version of which we saw Mickey Brzezinski did on Morning Joe today.
Yeah, and he has been doing those interviews from that, his bunker basement, he calls it, I think. Lynn Sweet, political columnist, Washington bureau chief, Chicago Sun-Times.
I want to have a bunker basement.
You feel safe in there.
Yeah, I want a bunker to go there.
This has been KNX In Depth. We will see you next week. 2:25 now. We'll get you traffic. Here's Tom Tran.
Earlier slowing on the eastbound side of the 105 is starting to clear, but it's still very busy starting at the 110. Finally, when you get over towards Wilmington, things start to shake free a little bit, but we had an earlier crash near Long Beach Boulevard. Did a serious number on that eastbound drive. Let's check in with Brian Douglas taking a look at PCH.
Getting several tipster calls on this. This is affecting both sides of Deer Creek Road. This is about a mile north of the Ventura County line. Both sides are shut down. Deadly crash investigation and cleanup continues here, so you're going to have to avoid PCH. Again, your alternate for this, the 101, which actually looks good through Camarillo, up the hill through TO. Use the freeway instead of PCH as you head south or north. Tom?
Both sides of the 110 looking pretty busy right now. The northbound side, we had a crash near Manchester Avenue. 2 vehicles involved in this one. That added to the slowing that started back at the 105. It's going to be busy until you get past Slauson. Now the southbound side, also busy from MLK down towards Florence Avenue. Your next report's at 2:35. More traffic reports more often. Tom Tran, KNX 1070 Newsman.
Afternoon news, minutes away. You can stream us, reminder, from your smart speaker at home or on the radio.com app. 2:26.
The backyard is back. A place to get a breath of fresh air and get together with the family. The Home Depot is here to help you create the backyard you've always wanted. With premium, low-maintenance composite decking and fencing from brands like Trex, Fiberon, TimberTech, and Veranda. And hundreds of other options to bring your backyard back to life this year. Order online, and we're on it. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only. Restrictions apply.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now. Like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR? No closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During these challenging times, our commitment to providing you with the best mortgage experience remains. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. Mortgage rates remain near historic lows. If you think that now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal Housing Lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Did you know you can actually pause and rewind live radio? Yeah, that's a thing. It's radio.com rewind. Here's how it works. If you're listening to this station and you missed something, it's easy to go back in time. Just go to the bottom of your screen and slide up the rewind banner. Scroll to the left to go back to previous hours. Just pick the purple card for the hour you want and press play. Simple. Pick any hour in the last 24. Make missing important news a distant memory. Listen to what you want when you want with radio.com rewind.
Xfinity XFi is more than just fast. It's internet that gives you peace of mind security. Because if it's connected, it's protected. Yeah, even your robot vacuum. Can your internet do that? Learn more at xfinity.com/xfi.
Woke up late and missed dialing into the professor's lecture? Not rewindable. Whatever. 20 minutes late dialing into the important conference call? Oops. Not rewindable. The station you're listening to now on radio.com? Very rewindable. Radio.com Rewind lets you rewind this station up to 24 hours back. You won't miss anything ever again. Or at least on radio.com. Just go to the bottom of your screen and click the rewind button. Listen to what you want when you want with radio.com Rewind.
This is Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station, KNX 1070 News Radio. Good afternoon, I'm Chris Sedens.
And I'm Karen Adams. Our top local story at 2:30. In-depth team coverage of the coronavirus pandemic. It's another day with more than 50 new coronavirus deaths reported in L.A. County. Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer.
This brings the total number of deaths to 1,172. People who passed away in L.A. County. And as a reminder, at the beginning of the month of April, I reported 79 deaths. So we have had devastating losses across our communities during the month of April.
Nearly half of all of the deaths were people in nursing homes. More than 24,000 people have tested positive for coronavirus in L.A. County. The county is listing businesses that have had outbreaks outbreaks. The largest is at the Ralphs on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, which has had more than 21 infections.
5 more Orange County residents have died from COVID-19, pushing the total in the OC to 50. And with more than 160 new infections, Orange County has more than 250 confirmed cases.
And protesters jammed the streets and sidewalks near the Huntington Beach Pier this afternoon, demanding that beaches and businesses open up again.
The demonstration went on for more than 2 hours with protesters cheering and jeering and cars rolling through the intersection of Main Street and PCH with drivers honking their horns. These people seemed fed up with the governor, fed up with the stay-at-home orders, and they insisted it was time to get people back to work in the OC and across the state.
Give me liberty or give me death. We're killing this country with this shutdown. The cure is far worse than the disease was ever going to be.
It's definitely time to reopen the businesses. People are starving. We're hungry. We need to work in order to keep this safe.
Police patrolled on motorcycles and on horseback. Some were on foot as demonstrators shuffled back and forth across the intersection in what was billed as the March to Open California. In Huntington Beach, John Baird, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Ventura County also seeing a group of protesters today demanding the lifting of statewide regulations. The demonstration took place at the county government center this afternoon, attracting a large crowd of people with signs and American flags. The sheriff says those protesters may face consequences.
The health order carries the same force and effect of law. In essence, these folks involved in this that are congregating are violating the law. The idea of police officers sweeping in and making arrests, issuing citations, forcefully dispersing the group is pretty unpalatable. But there is the potential that those involved in this could face criminal culpability.
That's Ventura County Sheriff Bill Ayub. With 9 new infections, Ventura County has more than 540 confirmed cases. The death toll remains unchanged at 18. Ventura County officials say they are working with the governor's office to enforce physical distancing at local parks and beaches.
With the growing number of protests against the state's stay-at-home order, Governor Gavin Newsom says some of those restrictions could be relaxed sooner than anticipated.
I always said weeks, not months, about 4 or 5 days ago. I want to say many days, not weeks, as long as we continue to be prudent and thoughtful.
But the governor says the state has hit 2 grim milestones in the fight against coronavirus. More than 2,000 people have died and more than 50,000 people have tested positive.
The people allegedly operating an LA-based coronavirus testing scheme have become the focus of a lawsuit to halt sales of the tests.
The LA city attorney is suing to halt online sales of a $35 coronavirus test kit.
Home test kits, that company is Applied Biosciences. In Los Angeles now, anybody can get a test. Free. You don't have to rely on anybody who would be attempting to mislead you online.
City Attorney Mike Fior and LA DA Jackie Lacey teaming up and going after the company.
The defendants allegedly marketed their test to homes, schools, hospitals, law enforcement, military. The defendants claim that their test could diagnose COVID-19 with 96.3% accuracy.
Based on the company's website, the kit's never approved by the FDA, but it does say that they were widely used by the Chinese government in tracking coronavirus infections. Craig Figner, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Sewage water could help officials figure out if a community is getting hit hard with the coronavirus. Researchers can take samples and find out if the virus is present.
We can only not only learn how prevalent it is, but we can use it as an early warning system. Usually from previous studies, a virus will appear in the wastewater about 2 weeks before you see the first clinical cases.
University of Arizona environmental virology professor Charles Gerba tells KNX he's been studying the wastewater in Tucson and found a decline recently in the amount of the virus. He says this information can better help public health officials and local lawmakers determine when to reopen things again. This isn't new. Looking for disease in wastewater has been done for decades to check for polio in the developing world.
KNX, your source for continuing in-depth team coverage of the coronavirus crisis. We also have a page devoted to the very latest on the pandemic. You'll find that at our website, knx1070.com/coronavirus.
And we could all use a mental health check in these trying times. We've got more coming up after traffic. It's 2:35.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 5s. Here is Tom Tran.
Northbound side of the 110, still very busy trying to get into downtown LA. We had an earlier crash up near Manchester. But the slowing starts at the 105, and it's just going to continue to be busy up towards Slauson Avenue. Let's check in with Brian Douglas, who's taking a look at the 405 in Orange County.
405, you have some extra volume here. Looks like a lot of you are avoiding PCH and Huntington Beach because of those demonstrations, which is wise to do here. Northbound side of the 405, you got 2 right blocks starting at Euclid, so I do see some slowing there. Up ahead at Beach Boulevard, looks like they're clearing the cones out of your left lanes. Expect a little pinch of slowing from Beach as you make your way up to Golden West. Tom?
Eastbound side of the 105 still trying to recover from an earlier crash at Long Beach Boulevard. It's still jammed up from the 110 over towards Long Beach Boulevard. And we had a serious crash over on PCH going northbound, affecting the drive near Deer Creek. Looks like it's going to be jammed up from almost Yerba Buena. Your next reports, 2:45. More traffic reports more often. Tom Tran, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Southern California weather forecast, sunshine this afternoon. We're looking at beach highs in the lower 70s, mid 70s, mid to upper 70s for inland areas. In fact, could hit 80 degrees in some. Mid 80s in the valleys. Mostly clear tonight. Overnight lows 50s and 60s. Tomorrow, your Saturday, sunshine, 70s and 80s. Back into the 90s early next week. We'll tell you more about that. Stick around. Your exclusive 5-day weather forecast coming up in just a few minutes. That's at 2:45. Ontario right now, 77 degrees. Northridge checks in at 82. Currently fair skies, 75 degrees. Downtown Los Angeles at 2:37.
May marks Mental Health Awareness Month, and LA County has been seeing a rise in calls to its helpline during this coronavirus crisis.
There has been a massive uptick in people reaching out, according to Dr. Jonathan Sharon, the department's director, and he expects that to increase significantly.
The challenges that we face emotionally are not just present now in the context of this pandemic, but will likely stay with us for some time. So it's really, really important that we embrace this month and that we embrace each other.
Supervisor Catherine Barger.
We are all at greater risk of anxiety, depression, anger, insomnia, and PTSD. We will do everything we can to promote mental health awareness during this crisis and even beyond.
She said asking for help is a sign of strength, along with calling the county's mental health helpline. Those needing help can also text LA to 741-741. Margaret Carrero, KNX 1070 News Radio.
We Thrive Inside is a campaign launched today that aims to improve the mental health of young people during the COVID crisis.
What's up, guys? I'm Michael Phelps. I'm an Olympic champion, and I have ADHD.
Michael Phelps and many other celebs have posted videos for We Thrive Inside, an initiative by the Child Mind Institute. They talk about what they've personally overcome and what they would say to their younger selves.
I would tell him to believe what's in his heart and never, ever give up.
Actor Wayne Brady has depression. He says he would tell his younger self that he didn't do anything wrong. And
most importantly, don't be afraid to talk to people. Ask for help. Talk to your mother. Talk to a teacher. Talk to your best friend. Just talk to someone.
The videos and a lot of resources can be found at childmind.org. Vicki Moore, KNX 1070 News Radio. San Bernardino health officials are concerned because the pandemic may be making people shy away from calling 911. Dr. Troy Pennington from Arrowhead Regional Medical Center says he's seeing a troubling trend that he's never seen during his career in medicine.
People are afraid to come to the hospital. Remember, emergencies don't wait. And we really want to emphasize to each and every one of you that if you are experiencing signs and symptoms of a heart attack, if you're having chest pain, pressure, heaviness, you're breaking out in a sweat, please do not be afraid to call 911. Please come to the emergency department.
While ramping up testing capacity as more people are being infected, the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors will review plans to reopen the local economy next Tuesday. 130 new confirmed cases and 4 more deaths have been reported in San Bernardino County.
It's 2:40 now on KNX. California's Attorney General Javier Becerra leading a lawsuit against the Trump administration over water. The administration's new rule removes Clean Water Act protections for many wetlands and other waterways. Becerra says this rule will lead to more pollution, dirty drinking water, and risk the health and safety of people.
Unfortunately, California will be among the hardest hit. The EPA estimates that at least 18% of all streams across the country are ephemeral and will no longer be protected. But in the West, the percentage is significantly higher.
The EPA issued a statement saying the rule will stand the test of time as it is securely grounded in the text of the Clean Water Act and is supported by legislative history and Supreme Court case law. The regulation is important to construction companies because it determines in which locations near wetlands and streams builders need to get a federal permit before they begin work.
People in the Moreno Valley area are being asked to avoid using water outdoors this weekend so crews can repair a big pipe that started to leak after it was hit by a contractor. Eastern Municipal Water District General Manager Paul Jones explains to KNX why conservation is needed.
To make sure that we have an extra buffer of conserved water in our reservoirs and tanks as the pipeline is repaired and the Mills treatment plant is brought online.
Outdoor use includes car washing, filling pools, and watering lawns. Officials say using your water indoors is fine, but they ask that people don't overdo it. Have financial questions during this pandemic? We'll have an expert answering them at 4:15 this afternoon. So send them to coronaquestions@knx1070.com, and we'll be updating the tough drive on the 110 heading into downtown LA and other trouble spots on the roads at 2:45. It's 2:42.
Flo here with a word that's just weird. Terry cloth. Who exactly is Terry? And why does he get his own fabric? Did he journey below SPF 50? Fight off some weeds in his daffodils? How about a word for everyone? Flotection. Yeah, I just made it up. But I'm not making up how great it feels when me and Progressive protect your new home. Ever think of that, Terry? No. Terry only thinks of himself.
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now, like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR? No closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
This moment of gratitude is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage and the Rock family of companies.
We really want to thank my wife's cousin Marie, who works so hard as a nurse saving others.
To those who leave their homes to keep us safe in ours, thank you.
And yeah, you guys are awesome. We're sending all our love, gratitude, and hope your way.
Thank you. If you'd like to thank America's frontline and essential workers, visit everyoneknowsahero.com. Quicken Loans, LLC, NMLS number 3030. Licensed in 50 states. Each legal entity that identifies themselves as part of the Rock family of companies are separate legal entities with their own governance and management structures.
Woke up late and missed dialing into the professor's lecture? Not rewindable. Whatever. 20 minutes late dialing into the important conference call? Oops. Not rewindable. The station you're listening to now on radio.com? Very rewindable. Radio.com Rewind lets you rewind this station up to 24 hours back. You won't miss anything ever again. Or at least on radio.com. Just go to the bottom of your screen and click the rewind button. Listen to what you want when you want with radio.com Rewind.
This is Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station, KNX 1070 News Radio. Depend on us.
Good afternoon. It's 2:44. I'm Chris Seatons.
And I'm Karen Adams. Coming up,
businesses want legal protection if they reopen and people get sick.
Governor Newsom says he may ease the state stay-at-home order in a matter of days, not weeks.
I'm Bloomberg's Mona Rivera. Tesla stock lost billions after a tweet. That story is coming up in 5 minutes.
These stories more in the next 15 minutes. Right now, 2:45. Let's hit the freeways again. Your traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 5s. Here is Tom Tran.
Eastbound side of the 105 at Central Avenue. We've got a new crash being reported here. It looks like a couple of vehicles involved in this one, and one of them trying to take off. That is in addition to an earlier crash we had over near Long Beach Boulevard that still has traffic slow back at the 110. Let's check in with Brian Douglas, who's taking a look at a problem on the 91.
It's our eastbound side, and this is just past the 241 and your fast track. A couple cars got into it. Waiting for the tow truck. I do see a little slowing past that 241. Main lines don't look like they're affected, but before that, we do have slowing on the main line from Imperial out through the 241. Tom.
Northbound side of the 110 still trying to get into downtown LA. It is very busy starting back at the 105. It's going to stay slow up towards Slauson Avenue. Clears up after that. And PCH still busy because of a very serious crash over near Deer Creek Road. The northbound side is jammed up solidly from Yerba Buena. Your next reports, 2:55. More traffic reports more often. Tom Tran, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Expect lower 70s along the coast, upper 70s to lower 80s for LA and Orange County Metro, 84 for the valleys this afternoon and the Inland Empire, upper 70s in the high desert, and upper 60s for the mountain communities. So we have wind advisories that have been extended for the Los Angeles and Ventura County mountains as we have gusty northwesterly winds. That is going to be with us until 6 a.m. on Saturday. As far as temperatures this weekend, near average, slightly cooler heading into Sunday, and then it's by the middle of next week we'll start to warm things up. We will feel the return of upper 80s to even upper 90s. With Southern California's most accurate and dependable forecasts, I'm CBS 2 meteorologist Alex Biston for KNX 1070 News Radio.
Some temperatures right now. We've got 75 degrees in Santa Ana. Currently it's 79 Corona, 75 degrees downtown Los Angeles at 2:47.
U.S. businesses want immunity from coronavirus lawsuits. They want Congress to pass legislation or the White House to shield them if workers or customers get sick from COVID-19 and try to sue. University of Illinois professor Michael Leroy tells KNX the feds normally don't intervene in these matters.
It would be virtually unprecedented for a president by executive order to attempt to waive the liability of private entities in any respect, but especially with respect to going back to work and exposing individuals to death or serious injury.
He says there are exceptions.
It has happened in conjunction with a federal vaccination program, two in particular. One, after 9/11, the federal government provided immunity to makers of vaccines for smallpox. In the 1970s, with a swine flu outbreak, manufacturers of a vaccine were given federal tort liability.
Professor Leroy says states normally take on these kinds of issues.
Democrats in the House working to try to get a new stimulus bill through Congress with lots more money for state and local governments.
Without more money from the federal government directed toward local governments, key Democrats in Congress say the jobs of first responders, police, firefighters, nurses, also teachers, will be threatened.
We also want to make sure that their American families get the resources they need to put food on the table. So we want to have food security.
LA area Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu.
Democrats in the House are fighting for continued funding for unemployment insurance, the expanded unemployment insurance.
Not clear yet how the Republican-controlled Senate will deal with the Democratic initiatives in the House, whether what will emerge will be bipartisan or not. Charles Feldman, KNX 1070 News Radio.
A coronavirus vaccine trial is underway at Oxford University.
So need a scratch?
Human trials began last week with nearly 800 volunteers. The process has been fast-tracked due to the urgency of finding a vaccine.
Okay.
If successful, they hope to produce 30 million doses by September. When rolled out, the UK will have first priority, with the US following shortly after. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
2:49 on KNX. The state of California has put together a list of possible activities you can engage in without violating virus rules.
There are plenty of activities you can do as long as you social distance 6 feet and do it with the people you live with. Let's go over them alphabetically. You can play badminton, throw a baseball or softball. BMX biking? Go for it. You can do singles canoeing like Magnum PI. Wait, wouldn't that be in the ocean? There's crabbing, as opposed to being crabby, which many of you are already. Cycling is good. Exploring rock pools, again, at the beach where we're not supposed to be. Gardening is fine. Group gardening is not. Golf by yourself is good as long as you walk. No carts allowed. Hiking and horse riding while social distancing. That's acceptable. Just make sure the horse doesn't have other ideas. Randy Cardoon, KNX 1070 News Radio.
North Korean media says Kim Jong-un has made his first public appearance in weeks, ending rumors about possible health problems. And we'll have more on this development throughout the afternoon.
2:50 now on KNX. Let's get a live look at your money. Here is Mona Rivera.
Chris, warnings from the likes of Apple and Amazon dragged down Wall Street. The Dow lost 622 points, 2.5%. The S&P lost close to 3%, while the Nasdaq fell more than 3%. Tesla shares lost 10% after a bizarre tweet from CEO Elon Musk. He tweeted that his company's stock's too high. Then he lost $13 billion in value when the stock tanked. West Texas Oil had its first big weekly gain in about a month, climbing above $19 a barrel. The oil market is recovering as production cuts take effect and demand for fuel is rising as shelter-in-place restrictions start to be lifted. The oil crash, though, hit ExxonMobil hard. It reported its first quarterly loss in decades. Shares plunged 7%. Microsoft is said to be in talks to buy the startup Softomotive that makes robotic software. We check your money at 20 and 50 after each hour. I'm Bloomberg's Mona Rivera from the HMS Capital Money Desk, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Texas getting back to normal. More in 2 minutes. It's 2:51.
If you're one of the millions who suddenly find yourself working at home, you may feel a little disconnected. To stay connected, just ask Alexa to play KNX 1070 News Radio.
Alexa, play KNX 1070. Playing KNX 1070 News Radio from radio.com.
Masks are already gone. Everything else. You'll get the latest updates on the coronavirus and the information you need to keep you and your family safe. Listen on Alexa, because unprecedented times require unprecedented coverage. KNX 1070 News Radio. Depend on us.
This podcast is supported by Oasis, a Paychex company. Oasis helps small and medium-sized businesses to simplify back-office complexities like payroll, benefits, HR, and compliance. With Oasis, you can continue to run your business fearlessly. Learn more at oasisadvantage.com/podcast.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lender Act, NMLS 1797976, California DRE license 02063270. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Crazy things are going on in the world right now. Like owning funding 30-year fixed refis at 2.99 rate and APR. Yes, you heard correctly. 2.99 rate and APR with no fees of any kind. Needless to say, people are going to owning.com for this free closer rate and APR like mad. In fact, if you have both a real estate and mortgage license, we may want to hire you. Look, money is so dirt cheap, most folks are taking cash out of their equity to do just about anything, including sticking it into their bank accounts just to have it there. Wouldn't you be crazy not to go to owning.com and grab 2.99 APR, no closing costs, no nonsense money while it's out there? Call 855-5-OWNING or go to owning.com to not miss these monthly savings. 855-5-OWNING.
Checking the roads again in 2 minutes and updating a crash on the 91 through Anaheim Hills. It's 2:53.
Starting today in Texas, restaurants, movie theaters, and malls can open.
Restaurants and stores in Texas can only allow 25% of their capacity. A waitress at a restaurant in Fort Worth says the smaller crowds mean she'll have to keep a second job she got at a grocery store.
I think I was out of work for like 4 or 5 days, and I was like, I can't do this because I live off of tips.
The customers were already lined up outside when the restaurant opened at 6 a.m.
I can just see those families, how they're hurting.
It was fun and enjoyable. Governor Greg Abbott says he may allow 50% occupancy if Texas goes 2 weeks without a flare-up of COVID-19. Alan Skaya for CBS News, Fort Worth.
This has been an important week in the science and discovery of how to treat the coronavirus.
The drug remdesivir has been known by doctors and scientists for several years, but has become part of the household discussion of the virus now. Here's Malibu physician Dr. David Barron.
First of all, I heard about the study on this drug when it first started. And I heard optimism on the part of local infectious disease specialists, which made me feel optimistic, and it's turned out to be pretty helpful. I don't think it's going to turn out to be, and I don't think Dr. Fauci or anyone else is calling it a silver bullet that's just going to cure it the way penicillin cures a strep throat. But they have now evidence to show that it is reducing the likelihood of death and reducing the severity of disease. And that's a big step forward. So, yeah, I'm optimistic about it.
Dr. Barron and others of our panel of experts answering your questions about the virus each day at 9:45 and 4:15. If you have questions, send them to us by email at coronaquestions@knx1070.com. Dick Hilton, KNX 1070 News Radio.
It could be days, not weeks, before restrictions are eased in California. Details at 3:03 after CBS News. It's 2:55.
Sponsored by Grocery Outlet, your traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 5s. Here he is, Tom Tran.
We still have slowing on the northbound side of PCH up near Deer Creek Road because of an earlier very serious crash. The backup starts almost at Yerba Buena. The southbound side seeing a little slowing near Deer Creek. Let's check in with Brian Douglas again. Take a look at that 91.
Still working this crash on our fast track lanes. Eastbound 91 just past the 241. Fire Fire Department's on the scene here, and at times looks like we may have both fast track blocked. You may want to stick with the main line after the 241, but before that, the main line, that's the tough part for you. Starting from Imperial out through the 241, it's going to be a slow drive. Tom?
Northbound side of the 110 still very busy from the 105 heading all the way up towards Slauson Avenue. The southbound side still jams up right around Jefferson down towards Slauson. We've got delays still in place on the eastbound side of the 105. We had a crash near Long Beach Boulevard. That's gone. Got another one. Had another one near Central Avenue. It's adding to a delay that starts at the 110 all the way over towards the 710. At Grocery Outlet, they remain committed to keeping as many items in stock as possible. Their teams are working tirelessly to make sure you and your family have the best possible experience when shopping with them. From all of your friends at Grocery Outlet, thank you. Your next report, 3:05. More traffic reports more often. I'm Tom Tran, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Sunshine this afternoon. For the most part, we're looking at highs in the lower 70s along the coast. Upper 70s inland. We're looking at highs in the mid-80s in the valleys. Mostly clear tonight. 50s and 60s your lows. Sunny, warm tomorrow, 70s and 80s, and then back into the 90s early next week. Some temperatures right now. We've got 82 degrees in Northridge, 87 in Chatsworth. Along the coast, it's 68 degrees in Santa Monica.